September 26, 1968. Two teens had been brought to Clarkston to appear in court for car theft. They escaped and stole a car. They were reported to be headed west on Highway 410, also known as US 12. Dad and Pomeroy City Police Officer Jennings were positioned along the highway in Pomeroy, watching for the stolen car. Shortly after 10 p.m., they spotted it passing through Pomeroy. The stolen car raced west on Highway 410. Officer Jennings and Dad began their pursuit. Officer Jennings took the lead early in the pursuit as he was an experienced stock car driver. Official reports indicate that they reached speeds approaching 100 miles per hour. About 4 miles west of Pomeroy, the stolen car failed to negotiate a turn and ran off the road and up a rocky embankment. As it went through a ditch and up the bank, car parts were falling off. The boys in the stolen car were ejected, and their car fell on top of the Pomeroy car, where the engine and transmission broke loose and laid on the highway. It is not hard to imagine that the dust and dirt from the crash made visibility zero. Dad's car was the last one through the scene, nicking the rear corner of the Pomeroy car and then the engine of the stolen car. The impact drove the left front wheel under the driver's seat, causing Dad's head to be whipped back into the plexiglass divider, crushing his skull. He died instantly. Officer Jennings survived the crash, but died the next day. Mom had been monitoring the pursuit on the police radio in the apartment. The last transmission from Dad was, "We got him." State Trooper Max Rich came on the radio to request an ambulance 4 miles west. "Is that my old man?" Mom asked. Max replied, "Shut up and call an ambulance." Mom called an ambulance and then called me. It was about 10:30 when the phone rang at our home in Endicott. It was Mom. She opened by saying, "Your dad has been killed. Come as soon as you can. Hurry. I need you." I left for Pomeroy immediately. Approaching Pomeroy, I came upon the crash scene. Dad's car was just being set back on its wheels. He had already been removed. There were car parts spread for several hundred feet along the highway. When I stopped, Trooper Rich recognized me and said to hurry to be with Mom. He would be by later. Arriving at the apartment in the basement of the courthouse, I found Mom sitting in a wheelchair in the middle of the living room. She had recently broken her kneecap in a fall and couldn't walk independently. She appeared to have her emotions under control at the time, but having someone to lean on, she broke down and we cried together. Sometime after midnight, Trooper Rich came to the apartment and told us what had happened. He and Dad were close friends, and he cried unashamedly as he described the events of the pursuit. After the trooper left, Mom and I sat in silence, trying to grasp the reality of what had happened. I called some of Dad's siblings. Mom had already called my brothers and sister. Sometime before 4 a.m., we saw someone outside the basement apartment. Going to the door, I greeted Uncle Mick and Aunt Clarabelle, who had come down from Colfax to see what they could do to help. I will always be grateful that Uncle Mick was there to help with the tough decisions that had to be made. Dad and I exchanged tapes monthly, and in the last tape he sent me, he indicated that he really loved his job. He loved the Pomeroy community and the people there. Mom decided that was where the burial should be. Uncle Mick and I made funeral plans and selected a burial site. The next 4 days were a blur as we answered telephone calls and greeted fellow mourners. Each time I see a funeral procession for a police officer, I'm reminded of the line of police cars I could see in my rearview mirror on the procession to the cemetery. An unforgettable sight. I also recall the large number of uniformed officers at the service and at the cemetery. After the service, the family went back to the apartment, and as the apartment emptied, Kathy and I began to put things in order. Mom had gone home with her mother. We all resumed our lives, but normal would never be as it had been before. Lee Daniel Birdsell was born in Lancaster, Washington on January 21st, 1960. Locals know the town as the railroad siding of Waleda. He was the third of 9 children born to George and Edna Birdsell. The family lived on 160 acres that had been homesteaded by Edna's family. They weren't wealthy, but they were rich in many ways. It was a tight-knit family that enjoyed each other's company. Family gatherings were always an event to be anticipated and enjoyed. The farm was located in the Lower Downing region, so Dad attended grade school at Lower Downing School, attending high school in St. John, graduating in 1934. After graduation, he moved to Spokane to attend Kinman Business University and study accounting. He held a variety of part-time jobs, usually at several at one time. While in Spokane, he met and was smitten by Helen Chilburn. Helen was the oldest of 2 children of Mamie and Carl Chilburn. She grew up in Spokane, graduating from Rogers High School. She would have liked to have gone to college, but her dad would hear none of it, so she also attended Kinman. Lee and Helen were married August 6, 1937. From this union came 4 children. The couple lived in Spokane where Lee worked at several jobs. He was injured in an accident while driving a Spokane city bus, causing him to suffer from severe headaches the rest of his life. In the fall of 1946, we moved to St. John, and Dad took a job as a farmhand. We first moved to Section 13, which had no electricity and featured an outhouse. Quite an experience for Mom, who had been raised in Spokane. In the fall of 1956, the family moved to the town of St. John, and Dad went to work for Palouse Ammonia. They sent him to Lewiston to help with the fall rush, and he never came back to St. John. Moving gave Mom an opportunity to go to work. She began as a legal secretary and ended her career as office manager in a farm service business. She also transcribed court proceedings for the Nez Perce County Court Reporter. She was an extremely competent typist. Wondering what her typing speed was, she took a test and recorded a speed of well over 100 words per minute. And that was when she was nearing her 60th birthday. She also typed the master's thesis for my brother Dale and for me. During the next few years, Dad managed fertilizer businesses. When the business in Clarkston closed its doors, Mom and Dad moved to Lind to take a job there. Mom quickly landed a job at the WSU Experiment Station. While working on pumps, Dad was hospitalized due to the fumes he inhaled from the solvent he was using. Doctors recommended that he find another line of work for the sake of his health. Mom and Dad moved back home to Clarkston. Dad had been fire marshal for Asotin County previously and had served as head of the Asotin County Sheriff's Posse. When Dad contacted the sheriff to tell him he was back in the area, he was told that the county needed a deputy. Dad jumped at the chance and began an all too short career in law enforcement. He finally found work that he really loved. After a couple years as deputy, Dad was appointed sheriff of Asotin County. He held that office until the next election, when he was defeated, largely because he refused to yield his personal beliefs and values to the wishes of special interests. Learning of an opening for a deputy in Garfield County, he applied and was hired. The days he worked in Pomeroy were some of the happiest days of his life. He and Mom had found a home. They lived in an apartment in the basement of the Garfield County Courthouse, in the space now occupied by the sheriff's office. They made many friends during their Pomeroy years. After Dad's death, Mom moved back to the family home in Clarkston, where she lived the remainder of her life. She died of lung cancer at age 65. Her memorial service was exactly 1 year after she retired. She lived 15 lonely years after Dad's death. Mom was an accomplished pianist and organist. Dad was a gifted singer. I have many wonderful memories of the family standing by the piano singing a repertoire of time-worn favorites. I also have fond memories of trips in the car which had no radio. We usually sang for the duration of the drive, often deliberately singing the last note of the song off-key. The sound of the piano or of Dad's singing filled our home at many times, especially before the advent of TV. I love music and also love to sing, a legacy from Mom and Dad. The organ music you hear is Mom playing her favorite number, Tico Tico. Oh, what I would give to have a recorded memory of Dad singing. In the beginning, I planned a tribute to my dad. But it didn't take long before I came to recognize that Mom and Dad were a team, and the tribute had to be to both of them. Imitation is considered the most sincere form of flattery. I believe this is demonstrated by the fact that my brother Bruce and his son Brian have followed in Dad's footsteps by choosing careers in law enforcement. He would be flattered to know that. Thanks to the efforts of my nephew Brian Birdsell, the memory of the two officers killed in 1968 will be preserved in Pomeroy and Garfield County. He led the effort to place a highway sign at the crash site, memorializing the two officers. Brian and Sheriff Ben Keller are responsible for the memorial located in the lobby of the Garfield County Courthouse. In May of 2012, Sheriff Keller organized a day to honor the fallen officers. The families of the fallen officers were taken by bus to the crash site where the highway signs were unveiled. When returning to the courthouse, the families entered the building through an honor guard of area law enforcement officers. After a brief memorial ceremony, the memorial in the lobby was unveiled and dedicated. A luncheon at the Petaha Flower Dome was a fitting end to a wonderful day. A wonderful spin-off of the memorial ceremony was establishing a relationship with the family of Trooper Max Rich. We learned that the official reports of the 1968 incident were still in existence. Having copies of them is fantastic, as they verified the events of that fateful night. I have visited the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Spokane and in Olympia. Each has my dad's name engraved in it. A treasure I have hanging in my home was provided by niece Dina Johnson. On a trip to Washington, D.C., she visited the National Law Enforcement Officer Memorial. She gave me a framed picture of the memorial and a tracing of Dad's name there. Priceless. In May of 1998, my brothers and I had the honor of receiving the Washington State Law Enforcement Medal of Honor from Governor Locke. I will forever carry the sights, sounds, and emotions of that ceremony in my memory.